Hello, everybody. Welcome inside the Fantasy Hut. I'm David Kiarsis, the league commissioner, joined as always by Alex Mason. We're going to talk about everything going on in the league. We're going to recap what's happened the first 8 weeks of the season, what's going to happen the last 5. Our trade deadline is fast approaching. We're going to talk about some trades that have already happened and some that we may see over the next day and a couple hours. And then we're just going to talk about some other league rules and just everything that's gone down the league. How you feeling tonight, Alex?
I'm feeling good. Happy to be here. Happy to be doing this. I know it's the first one of the year. Usually this is at least the second or third one. But we'll try to do better. Maybe we'll get another one, a few down the road, which kind of brings it up. It's so crazy how fast the season goes by.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about other sports, and regular seasons drag on. Football is like a beast of its own. It's already halfway done.
Yep.
Regular season in the fantasy world is more than halfway done. Talking about playoff pictures. It's interesting stuff, good stuff. So let's start fantasizing.
Yeah, and I think this is a great week to get back on the show because it's a big one. We got a number of big games, and like I said, the trade deadline's tomorrow. We've already seen some big trades already that me and Alex wanted to touch on. Obviously, I think the biggest one was the one that happened between Balsall Hardew and the Swords. Balsall Hardew sending Beckham, C.J. Anderson, and Derek Carr to the Swords for Emmanuel Sanders, Jonathan Stewart, Peyton Manning, Anquan Bolden. Obviously, a big deal. What were your first thoughts about the deal?
Well, I thought when I saw Keith trading with Answers, I figured something had to be up here. These two guys hate each other. They wouldn't be trying to help each other out. So someone had to rape someone in this deal. And that's definitely what happened. Balsall Hardew, it's almost unfathomable what he did, trading away an elite top 5 keeper in Odell Beckham Jr. Not to mention an elite top 5 performer today. The only reason he probably has 4 wins is because of Odell Beckham carrying him there. And just the return is not there. I mean, Peyton Manning, obviously, I don't know about you. I'm not a big believer of his right now. I saw him as a free agent in another league of mine. He's not even considered top 10. You pair the receiver that he's throwing to with it, and, you got to downgrade at 2 positions.
Yeah, so I was actually able to speak with Keith. His kind of thought process around the deal revolved around Peyton Manning is going to be Peyton Manning.
I'd be curious to hear how he defended this.
Again, I think
we should get Keith on here. You can email the show, okay? dkiarsis@gmail.com.
And as you say, I'm just not a believer that Peyton's got anything left. Last 4 weeks or 4 games, no more than 12 points in any week, and I just don't see it getting better with the temperature getting colder in Denver, as we've seen kind of the last 2 seasons. And the Swords once again made another trade. He was busy at the deadline, sending C.J. Spiller and Deshaun Jackson to 40s for Keenan Allen. Thoughts on this trade?
Well, I gotta say one thing. As much as I love seeing Keith make poor decisions and bragging on him, the Swords is another person I like to see fail. I think all of us probably do. He's won 3 championships, so it's kind of, he should consider it flattering, I guess, in a way, that we're all trying to knock him down and chasing after everything he's accomplished. But I gotta say, I've been in his position before, and he might have pulled it off better than I did, setting himself up for an off season where he could really be a very strong contender next year. Keenan Allen's injury, it doesn't seem like it should threaten his abilities on the field at all. Derek Carr is amazing. He looks like a very solid fantasy quarterback. He's not amazing in real life. We'll see him win some games, but with Amari Cooper, he's going to put up numbers. They're in a playoff. If it started today, they'd be in the playoffs. So, and then Beckham, as I said before. So I think he'll move on from DeMarco Murray. That's been a total bust. And whoever else he had, Stafford, another bust. I think he made out very well. And I'm curious to see how his offseason goes because even though I mentioned those guys as bust, they do have value in this league. And teams might be interested, especially someone like Keith and Joe that unloaded some keepers. They might be in the market for some in the future. We'll see what the return the Swords gets and compare it to what I did from a few years ago.
Yeah, it's certainly kind of the benefit of doing a keeper league. the Sorge season has been dismal to say the least. It's worst ever.
Yeah.
But there's
which
a silver,
I love.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But there's a silver lining, and that's the group of valuable players that he's compiled over the course of the season. We already mentioned Beckham. He brought into the season Murray Stafford and Justin Forsett. Now getting Keenan Allen, Tyler Eifert. It could be a busy offseason.
That's curious. He's going to be a team to watch because it's not like these players are hurt and out for the rest of the year. He might play a factor in these playoff matchups. In a few weeks down the road.
Yeah, I think the low points, he'd have to win.
I'm not saying he's going to contend. I'm saying he can
play spoiler.
He can play spoiler. Yeah, have fun doing that.
So I've been throwing out trade offers all the last 2 days.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to come to a deal. Is there any team that you think maybe could be making a deal or should be looking at something to improve the roster for the stretch run?
I've been in touch with an owner. I have not been on the wire too much this year, trying to make deals. I feel, my team has. It's just not performing. My team hasn't put it together, but I think there's a team like Jason could use a running back.
Yep.
I think Sample could use a wide receiver. His 3 is Garcon right now. I think he can use an improvement. He's got I'm not going to say he's got a plethora of running backs. Yeah. They're all kind of jack of all trades, master of none guys. No elite players, but serviceable guys that can kind of. You stack them all together at the end of the week, you put up a score that's good enough to win. I guess that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
But, I do think he can use a trade for a wide receiver. How about yourself? What do you think?
Well, I think, kind of the biggest thing is, just the injuries that we've seen over the entire course of the season. This past weekend there were a number of injuries that are just kind of making the trade market interesting. I don't think anything's going to happen. I've been trying to throw out offers to a lot of different people, feeling people out, and unless I guess Balsa Hardy could always have another trade up his sleeve that'll ruin his chances of winning.
He makes some questionable ones.
So I don't think we're going to see any more action, but again, I think that the focus has to be on the injuries and what teams overall are going to do, whether it's through their own rosters or through the wire, of replacing some of these big name players that have gone down. We've already mentioned Keenan Allen. Going down for 40s. He was traded to the Sorge. I think actually that's a huge injury because not only did 40s, lose Allen for the year, he then deals him away, and what I thought was kind of a knee-jerk
didn't really get much
move.
Didn't really get much back.
So I think, and Allen was great this year. He's a top 10 receiver, and was a big part of 40's team. So that's really going to hurt him now as he goes into the stretch run trying to win his first division title. Which injury do you think is going to have the biggest impact?
Well, I think Le'Veon Bell, by far, is going to have the biggest impact. This guy is a game changer. He's unlike any other player to any other team in the league. You look at what he did last year. He's just he is that offense. With as good as Antonio Brown is, that offense revolves around what Le'Veon Bell does, both running and catching the football. And that translates into fantasy points that are really unrivaled by any other player. You got some players that have spurts, but nothing like the work that Le'Veon Bell did and the way he finished runs and just seemed to always dominate the field. And Kevin, some experienced managing, having D'Angelo Williams on his bench, so it's not a huge worry, but you can't replace the skill set of Le'Veon Bell. So, even though D'Angelo Williams, he won't lose out too much from a points perspective, it's that extra that Le'Veon Bell gets you, that gets your team over the top. Get you those 200-point weeks, get you those 30, 35, maybe even 40-point games. D'Angelo's not going to catch the ball the same way. Yeah. So I think that injury really, really hurts Kevin's chance. It's really the nail in the coffin. Just think, it started before the draft. It continued the day after the draft. And then you had his quarterback go down. He never had his quarterback and running back on the field together. Did he even have one start?
I think
did they have a full game together? I don't know.
I think it was
Kevin, you can email the show too. Let us know if you got a full game with Roethlisberger and Bell on the field together. Because I don't remember. I don't think it happened.
So you mentioned, obviously, Le'Veon Bell already had D'Angelo Williams. That was big. Jeremy Langford was big for you with Forte. One of the big differences this season has been our new waiver system, the FAB budget.
Oh, yeah. What about you? Who was your biggest injury?
I said Allen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what you get for paying attention.
So, obviously, the new FAB system has been a big part of this season. A lot of important players
need some
that are starting for people.
Can't use my phone.
Are making big impacts. Is there a guy that stands out to you as that guy?
Well, I mean, RG three-way. He had a great draft. He's acquired a few people with this Fab system, and he does have coasters. People, he does have coasters. He had one for himself, but I get one late. I have to make a statement.
Oh, I got that one too.
Oh, he got one for himself now too. He realized it was a good idea after he finished his cup. Anyway, lost my. Oh, so RG three-way. He's acquired Dion Lewis early in the season, week 2 maybe.
After the first game.
Started him in every game this year, and he's just contributed to what's been a juggernaut of a squad. Obviously undefeated, no one can compete with him. And he also recently acquired Darren McFadden, who's seems like he's only going to get more and more touches with the release of that idiot, that thief that they had as a running back, and Christine Michaels, a guy I keep hearing about. It's crazy. I mean, I had him on my roster. He's on Keith's roster. I actually offered Marcus Mariota for Christine Michaels straight up. He denied me.
Wow.
And in hindsight, it would have been nothing. It would have been a meaningless deal. Just another bad quarterback for Keith to add to his squad. But yeah, I think I like what RG three-way's done. But more curiously than who people have acquired, because there's nothing that really jumps off the page at you in terms of like a true game changer or season changer. But the way people just will spend their money, it's very interesting to see how is there even a strategy that people have? Because to be honest with you, the winning bid is always 4 or 5 times the amount of the second bid, if there is a second bid. So I don't really know how I feel about it. I remember a few weeks ago I didn't like it. Now I'm kind of indifferent. I got a player that's gotten me 20 points back-to-back weeks off of it, even though I outbid the next best bid by 40, if not more. So I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet, but what do you think?
I guess the way I've always thought about the waiver system is, whatever the system is, I'm fine with it. I know the rules. I understand them. It is what it is, and I'm just gonna play by them.
Sounds like coach talk.
So if it's I like this. I think the first one to go to 0, spending all my money in 1 week. 80% of my money all in 1 week.
So what kind of 85%? You're not really a playoff contender, so it's not like.
Well, all right. So I was thinking about this today. I think my team is like yours in 2012. Remember how many good players you had? And you thought your team was really good, but you just couldn't.
I believe that was the year that
You had Percy Harvin and CJ Spiller.
What Dansorge did. That was the same
year.
Yeah.
You had all those players. And you had Luck. That was Luck's rookie year.
It eventually got to a point.
So I feel like that's what my team is now. I feel like if you go look at my team right now,
but I think
that's it's a good lineup on paper.
I think the difference is my team started off okay. You've been pretty much bad all year. Yeah. It started with the Des Bryant injury.
Yeah, so that hasn't been good.
So that's the one difference. But you're right.
The one, and then I guess. But yeah, I guess it's if we continue with the system, it's just about learning. It might change. It might change.
Hurt you to compete. But are you in position to turn it around in the offseason? I guess your keepers aren't going to change. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you want to move.
And I think it's not even about the offseason, because I guess the second big change this year, we got the consolation bracket, which is determining draft order. So I'm thinking about that. And if I don't make the playoffs, which I don't think that I'm going to, I'm trying to win that consolation bracket and get the number 1 pick. So,
is that what you would take? Do you like the number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, you always take.
How did that turn out for?
I just always take the highest number. Well, he took the wrong player.
Well, yeah, he took the wrong guy.
But I never would have taken a quarterback. I would have taken probably Peterson.
You would have taken Peterson
or Charles, yeah.
Or Charles. And I guess that probably wouldn't have worked out either. But I guess hindsight, it's always 20/20.
Yeah.
It worked out for me, but I'm 500.
Yeah. So I mean, hey. I'm 2-6.
I'm a loss away from being on the outside looking in, right?
You never know. But yeah, I guess that's the good place to get to now, because that's what's important right now. We got week 9 ahead of us. We got some big matchups. Just some quick stat. We're talking about the struggles my team is having. I might be the first defending champion to miss the playoffs. And an interesting fact is we've never had 4 non-playoff teams from one season all make the playoffs the following season since 2009, when we had the same 10 teams.
Really?
So that could happen this year.
Who was that? It was me, Sample,
Keith.
Keith didn't make the playoffs last year? Okay.
And Jason.
Yeah. Wow.
So me and Serge Kamoli are looking like we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And if Kevin doesn't make it.
That's something. That is
so let's talk about your game.
How'd you get that stat? Elias Sports Bureau?
Yeah, I got my own Elias.
He's got his own Elias Sports Bureau.
So yeah, your matchup with Keith this week. You're both 4-4. Loser, like you said, will be in the 6th spot, a game up on possibly 1 to 3 teams. How you feeling about your team, generally speaking, and how do you feel about getting ready to play Keith?
This is a big matchup. Keith is obviously one of my favorite people to talk about, whether it's good or bad, mostly bad. When I'm with him is the only real times I have anything nice to say to him. Other than that, I don't see a purpose for any type. And there's no room. There's no room for friendship in fucking fantasy football when we're fighting for playoffs here, okay? And division. Division title's looking like a long shot. But, still got to beat the arch rival. I'm liking my chances this week. I'm bringing up the matchup real quick. I know I got Dalton on a Thursday night. Thursday night games always scare me. I hate whenever I have a player going in one of them. You just never know what you're going to get. Sometimes these games, it's just, I don't know. But that being said, we both have a player going in that game. And we both have quarterbacks, and I think my quarterback is much, much better, especially from fantasy purposes. This year, he's bordering on elite when you talk about fantasy numbers. Almost positive he's top 3 in terms of points scored. So I think I have a huge advantage there. Looking at this matchup,
Johnny's first start in the league.
Johnny.
Hopefully you're all watching Johnny.
Fresh out of rehab, like who knows what this guy was doing. I do get helped out by some big buys. Keith is really hurt by not having Marshawn Lynch. Doesn't have Joe Flacco, who, let's face it, he's not great, but he's definitely an upgrade over Johnny Manziel. Points like that when you have these secondary guys, borderline quarterbacks playing on short weeks. Those are the types of outputs that can hold you back. Yeah. And I like my chances this week. I always do against Keith. I'm going to smack again, just like week 1. When I put up a weekly high that week against him, I plan on doing the same.
And then the other big matchup.
How do you feel about my matchup? Come on, you're with me, right?
I actually picked Keith to win.
You picked Keith to win? What's your argument against you? What do you like? What do you like about his team? Do you think Peyton, the guy you just hated on?
Yeah, I don't know. I just picked him.
No. No way to defend his picks. He just gut feeling. Gut feeling. No, we were not supposed to let them know we're watching the game. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm already up. Really? You think he's going to win?
Yeah, I had him winning.
You had him winning.
There's another touchdown to Eifert. The other big matchup this week.
Has him winning.
We've been talking about 40s. He's got a big matchup this week with Sam Dees.
Hold on. Dun-dun-dun. We got breaking news here. T.Y. Hilton projecting 0 points all of a sudden. Looks like he's wearing a walking boot and not going to play this week.
That's
breaking news here on the Fantasy Hut. Seriously affects my matchup that we just spoke about. So let's see. Let me read this here. B-Ray said he'd be surprised if Hilton plays Sunday. Horrible matchup against Denver. It's not looking good.
Yeah.
Well,
Colts really struggling.
I still like my chances, Keith. All right, I'm going to fuck you up.
So our other big matchup in the opposite division from us, 40s and Sam Dees, top 2 teams in the Western Division. 40s win or lose, he'll still be in first, but still a big game for those standings. Looking like a 2-team race over there. What are you thinking about these 2 teams?
Joe is, and he might have peaked too soon. He might have been one of those teams, good. He was looking real good. Now loses Allen. Put up very lackluster effort. I mean, we knew Freeman couldn't keep it up with 35, 40-point games every week.
He's still been really good.
He's still been great, but,
he's been ridiculous.
I don't know. I still like Joe's team. I think he's going to be fine. Sample, I think, is, he doesn't have anyone that excites you. So, from a playoff perspective, Joe's obviously definitely planning for the playoffs. He's all but a lock, minus, monumental collapse. So, I like Joe in this matchup, and I like Joe moving forward. I think Sample, it's going to be between Sample and Kevin coming down the wire. That's my belief.
I actually picked Sam Dees in this one also. I'm a bigger believer in Sam Dees than Mason is.
We'll see. So we have 2 matchups that we really need to look at. I'm taking myself and Joe, and David is taking Keith and Sample.
So we'll see how those ones play out. As you said, there's those teams on the outside looking in. We talked about me being one of them. Kamoli, 2-6. Kevin, 3-5. Kevin's playing Pat, which is a tall task on its own, and Kamoli's playing the Swords, which could get them both at 3 and 6, be a game behind the loser of your game. So out of those three, who do you think needs to win the most?
I'm gonna have to say Kevin. He's fighting. The thing about fantasy football, I remember when I said this when I was 3-0. In our league, you just got to stack them up and get as many as you can while you can get them. It's a race to 7. 7 seems to be a lock. Kevin's already got 3. There's a chance to get 4. It's a big 4 is a big deal. Get that 4th win. I don't know if we're having some technical difficulties right now or not. Yeah, all right. Looks like we're back up. At least I can see myself. That's all that matters. But I do think Kevin needs a win. Again, over anyone else. Who were the other? It was you. I don't think you need a win. You won last year. I don't want to.
Well, I just think Kevin.
You and Kamoli, right? That's what you.
Yeah, I just think that Kevin's probably the only one of the three of us that probably has a legitimate shot of making a run. I think Kamoli's too dependent on the Patriots, and I just wouldn't trust the fact that if they're not good one week, you're going to lose. And the rest of his team has just been awful. Like, I don't have the numbers, but I'm sure if you looked at percentages, probably the Patriots have scored 35-40% of his points.
It's very impressive with those Patriots.
Yeah.
From a real life perspective, as much
good.
as I hate that team, I'm a Bills
good.
fan. Anyone that didn't know, you're an idiot. But those guys are crazy.
Yeah, and again, it's the consolation bracket. I have my keeper, so we'll just try again next year with those three. And it's maybe a good year to not be so good because there seems to be one team that's better than everybody else, and that's RG3-way. Talk about what he's been doing, and when's it going to end? We got Le'Veon Bell this week, who's just 5 players on bye. He plays soon-to-be champ week 10 without Rivers. He plays me in week 11 without Antonio Brown, and then he finishes with Keith and you in week 13. A quick stat for you. I guess our two best starts, 7-0, and Jason 11-0. I was the team that beat both of you. So I get my chance against Pat in 2 weeks. Hopefully he's still undefeated then. But, is this guy going to lose?
I'm looking at his totals. This guy.
They're not amazing, but
they're not amazing. But do you want to talk about a model of consistency?
He has just less points than Joe.
It doesn't matter where you get the points. He scored less than 180 points 3 times. All 3 of those times he was above 175. So he scored above 175 every single week. He's undefeated. He's gone over 200 only once. But
it was a big one.
So he's
270.
Maybe he's getting a little bit of luck in terms of no one going off against him. I have had 2 guys have the highest scoring weeks, the highest point scoring of the week.
He has the lowest points against.
So he's got a little bit of luck on his side, but he's not squeaking by. I know you were telling me a stat off air. Why don't you can tell me about Jason and a couple of his victories. Talk about squeaking by.
2 of Jason's first 4 wins were but when he scored less than, I think, 135 or 140. He scored 133 in both. That had only been done 6 times since 2009 when we, expanded our lineups and had higher scoring games. So, certainly a fortunate start for soon-to-be champ, but he's another team that
we're supposed to consider this guy a playoff contender.
And he's someone that I might like more than you. Another team that I might like more than
champ?
you. Yeah, I think that this is a team that
if T.Y. Hilton's out,
he has players that can pop. He's got Palmer and Breeze, 2 quarterbacks leading the team. His running back is like we said when we were talking about the trade deadline. It's certainly a spot of need, but I think this is a team that has the firepower certainly to in a 1-week playoff beat you. I don't know if it has it all to win the title, but
what's cool about
certainly his best
year,
team probably is his title team.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's a product of we're very top heavy this year. The guys at the bottom are really not contending. And the teams,
kind of clear cut.
The teams that are contenders at least. Well, consider anyone that's a playoff team as a contender because let's face it, it's fantasy football. Anything can happen. And with that being said, all of us have the teams that have the ability to pop. Except I think Sample a little bit is held back a little bit. But we've seen it from Pat. We've seen it from Joe. We saw it from soon-to-be champ last week.
We've seen it from Balsam.
We've seen it from Keith.
you.
I haven't had the explosion. I've had a 200-point week, but and the only person I don't think we've seen it from is Kevin.
Yeah. He was good to start the season, but the
no
injuries have just
explosions.
been too much
So
of a problem.
so I think anyone, I think we all have a chance. And to go back to RG3 way to put a bow on that one, I think that's going to be the way to beat him. You have to have an explosion.
Yeah.
He's not going to slip up. He's going to put up at least 175 to 185 points, and probably more. So
exactly,
you're going to have to put up points to beat him.
One more good stat: only once has a team made. To your point about how many wins to get in the playoffs, only once has a team made it with 5 wins. So yeah, 6, 7 is the thing. You get 7, you're in probably, especially this year. 6.
Has any team ever had 7 wins and not made it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'd
find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, you just would have to have 3 teams that have lost to everyone. I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah. So we thought, we've talked about all the teams in the league. We thought it'd be fun to talk about some players, both, first 9 weeks and then moving forward, who's going to help who win a title. I mean, obviously the first half MVP has to be Devontae Freeman. Was the 6th round pick. I called it out as the bad pick of Joe's draft, and the guy's like the best running back in fantasy.
So I guess that bodes well for my matchup predictions this week, because he doesn't know what he's talking about when he tries to make a prediction. So I'm hoping that we disagree on our future predictions. He's kind of like, you watch Mike and Mike? Do you have time in the morning?
Yeah.
Listen to Mike and Mike? You should. He's pretty good. They're both pretty good. Anyway, Mike.
But I know they go at each other.
Greeny calls it the kiss of death, and that might be what you have. Whenever he predicts something, it's sure to go wrong. But I don't know. I haven't studied your track record well enough, so I'm not going to make that claim yet. But I will agree with you on the midseason MVP. It has to be Freeman.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of always agreeing. I think controversy is good and disagreement's fun. But there's I would be stupid to disagree with that pick. Great job, Joe. Carried you this far. Let's see what he does for you the rest of the way. There's no reason to expect any type of drop off. It's a great pick all around.
So who's your guy? Who's your guy moving forward?
Well, my guy moving forward, I might be a little biased, but I don't think it's too biased because the proof is in the pudding, and it's Todd Gurley moving forward. This guy is just getting the work. Not only has he been a fantasy game changer, but he's been a game changer for that team. The Rams, they're just on his back and riding him, and I mean, why would they stop? They have no other offense. Since they started giving him the ball, they started winning games, and he's beast in it. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this since Adrian Peterson burst onto the scene. And even Peterson wasn't this good in his first 4 games. So if he keeps getting the rock the way he is, the way he just moves in and out of holes, and I think he's going to be a breakout player, and look out for the next 4 or 5 years. This guy's
absolutely
so he's my second half MVP.
I'm going quarterback position. I'm going with Drew Brees. We saw what he did on Sunday against the Giants, put up 63. His schedule moving forward, I mean, Tennessee, Washington, bye, Houston, Carolina, which scares you a little bit, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Jacksonville. No, it's at home.
It's at home, okay.
It's Carolina, Tampa Bay, Detroit, Jacksonville. That is a cake schedule for Breeze in their passing game. One of the reasons I like Jason, got Palmer in a trade for me. Those two together, I think certainly gives it a chance. But I don't think
those 2 quarterbacks paired together any given week, they can get you 80, 90 points.
But monster game. It's still not going to be good enough to beat which team.
Hold on, before we get to that,
yeah,
I don't want to miss anything here, because I did want to talk about some surprises that we've seen, some disappointments.
Yeah.
Everyone has gripes every year. Yeah. So my biggest surprise was Eddie Lacy and how horrible he's been. Almost seems to be relegated to they're just splitting time.
Yeah.
It's a committee almost. It's a 2-man committee, and he looks like the lesser player in that committee. So that first round draft pick, that bust might be the one that hurts the most, and that's probably why I think Sample's team doesn't excite you when that first round pick doesn't pop for you.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest disappointment. So before I hold you from your prediction sure to go wrong, who was your biggest surprise of the year?
In a negative way, it's got to be Manning. He was a first-round pick, and he's been awful, and I don't think it's getting any better. I mean, if this guy plays next year, which I don't think he's going to,
I'd be surprised.
I mean, what's it going to look like? So the guy's been great, but when it's done, when you're done. So it would be Manning for me.
We loved you, Peyton, especially when you were throwing 7 touchdowns in games to my number one wide receiver, Demaryius Thomas. Since you're not doing that anymore, I can't say I'm as much of a fan. No one signs up to watch defenses win. But it's cool. It's good for him. He's obviously the greatest. It'd be nice to see him win, I think. Who do you think is going to win it all? I know I'm just delaying you.
It's always the Pats.
It's always the Patriots. You said it last year. I think you said it 2 years in a row. As long as
the
Patriots are in it.
As long as Tom Brady's on the team.
It's tough to argue with that. I mean, they don't look like they're ever going to lose.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like Tom Brady's going to... He looks like he's in his prime.
Yeah.
Prime of his career, and he's almost 40. All right, I've delayed you long enough. I think most of us are going to know the answer before you say it, but who is your league champion and why?
And if we come back for another show, I mean, fantasy football changes all the time. These might change, but until something changes, it's got to be Pat. He's 8-0. I don't want to see him go undefeated, slip up once, and then go win the title.
I don't want to see that either. I don't want to see either.
He's almost going to clinch the playoff spot with a month to go. I mean, he's almost going to clinch the division with a month to go in the regular season. He's just on a roll. His team is complete and great for our format of league and PPR, and the scoring that we have, and his team's just really good. You have a different answer.
Well, as you would imagine, since I have a chance to make the playoffs, and based on some of the things I've said, even on this recording and this podcast, about how anything can happen any given week, I'm going to have to go with myself. I like my squad. I like the way I drafted. I think Gurley's going to carry my team very far, and as players living up to expectations, that's what we all hope for, right? If I can get that, I think I have a great chance to make some noise. And I'm going to show some confidence in my squad, and I'm going to pick myself to most likely be an underdog in the championship game, pull off the upset.
I would love it if it would be you and Pat. Two guys that haven't won a title, playing.
Two guys that haven't won a title. Lost 2 championship games. Yeah. What about Pat? How many is he?
He lost the first 2.
He lost the first 2 to Ant Sorge, so he was probably right there with me talking all that shit to Ant Sorge earlier. We should probably wrap the show up with a little more shit talking. Who did we miss? We didn't talk about Kevin. He kind of flew by. I guess we don't feel bad for him.
Yeah, you gotta feel bad.
Basically, if you get drafted by Kevin, you're gonna tear a knee fucking ligament or something. I mean, 4 players, right? Well, I guess he never drafted Benjamin or whatever.
It's been a tough season for Le'Veon's Bell.
All right.
But we'll see. We got 5 weeks left in the regular season, and then some what should be some dramatic playoffs. It's going to be exciting. We hope that if we get another show, you'll come back and join us for the next.
We will have another show. This is too much fun. This is too much fun not to do. I drove 2 hours to get here. I'm going to do another show, okay? All right. I'm already. I'm off to a good start against Keith, but Manziel's hot on my tail.
Yeah, Manziel, I hope everybody's watching Johnny play right now. Just threw a touchdown.
Yeah, we got a 14-10 game. We're in the second quarter.
Johnny football.
Yeah, Dalton's got 15.5. Johnny football's got 12.25. So competitive Manziel. Not doing as bad as I thought he would.
And we'll see what happens.
And then with that,
all right. So we'll see you then. Thank you.
Let's have some cake.